Hey everyone, welcome to a Renderspaz video tutorial, and today we are going to create some simple realistic grass within 3D Studio Max, and we're going to use Tyflow to give us some of the results that you see in front of us here. So we're going to get started and follow along, and it should be pretty straightforward. Alright, let's go. Okay, so we're just going to create a plane at 110 length and 110 width. And then I'm going to increase my segments to 1000 by 1000. That's going to give us a very dense mesh, but I'm going to use that just to get some detail, and then we're going to tone it down a bit. But for now, this is great because this will work for my noise modifier, or the displacement modifier, and I'm going to plug in a noise. So let's do that. So we're going to go into the modifier stack, displacement. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're gonna check on map here, and we're going to go and look for our noise map. Let's bring that into our material editor here. And now that we have it plugged in, we can now bring up our strength to 10 or so. Okay, we're going to get something like this. I'm just going to scale up our gizmo just a bit, just so we're not clipping the edge there. And now we have something to work with here. We've got some ground that is starting to take place. We're getting some displacement. So what we're going to do is come over to our noise map here, and we are just going to dial in some settings here. We're going to go fractal as a noise type, and then what we're going to do is bring up our levels, maybe about 9 or 8. Something like this. As you can see already, we got a pretty detailed map. So what we're going to do is maybe just drag this down a bit just to get some low spots. Okay, maybe we can go something like that. What we can also do is add a mix. So by taking two of these guys, and let's actually drag out a mix map. So the color select 2. This can go into 1. What we're going to do is drag this guy now into our slot here. Okay. And now we can bring this guy up a little bit. Let's bring it up to 1 again, so we get something like this. And this map looks like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just where there's these low spots where you see it's completely flat, I'm going to want to fix that, and by adding 50%, maybe say. Give us a little bit of detail in there, and now we can kind of dial this in as much as we want for our little details, something like this. We could even kind of like it to be a high level of detail here, but let's just see if we can get something to look a little bit more organic here. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to dial in a little bit more of the maps here. Maybe something like this. Okay, so we get something a little bit more organic. This should work for now. Okay. Alright, so now that we have our ground, what we could do is we can add a Pro Optimizer on top of this. And we can now calculate it, and let's just try to dial some of this back. It's just pretty high poly count, so we're just going to try to get a little bit lower. So I'm going to roughly go around 20%. And this should do. Even if we have a little bit of artifacts going on here, this is going to be okay because we're going to have some displacement maps going on here, and then with the grass overlaying everything, this is going to all be pretty much hidden, and you're not going to even notice any of this stuff. So let's convert this to an edible poly. So this way we have a quite low poly ground, but with some good detail there. All right, and that should be enough to give us some variation. So now what we want to do is we're going to open up our good friend Tyflow, and it's free on the Tyflow site, so you can download the free version. That's what I'm going to use here for today. But by all means, get the pro version. It's well worth it. The amount of things that you can do with Tyflow is just, it's unbelievable. It's totally worth the money. So for now, just so that keeps it, we're going to keep this thing free for everybody. Let's use the free version and get into creating the grass elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a birth event. Okay. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to check off end. We're going to go to the total. So our total amount right now, we're just going to start off with let's try about 5,000. Okay. So we do 5,000 particles. You can actually see them right here. Very faint there, but if I was to raise up our dot size, we can see that there is something happening there, but it's all kind of isolated in the middle here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over and we're going to add in, we're going to look down here in our list, and we're going to look for position object. So position object, we're going to take that, we're going to drag it up, and we can now pick the ground. So you can see here we got the ground, and now we have our particles spread out throughout the terrain, right? So that's gonna work well right now for this amount, and then we're gonna dial it up as we go. So we're gonna get more blades in there. So right now we're gonna go to our shape. Okay, we're gonna actually, if we hit tab, we can then type in shape, double click, and now we can come down to where it says mesh. We're gonna hit 3D, and what's built into Tyflow is they have grass blades here. We got the short, long, and clumpy versions of this. Now I'm going to go with the short, but we're going to start off with, this is pretty much a simple model of grass, and I recommend you guys to actually build your own grass blades as well, and to get your own kind of highly detailed grass blade if you're going, say, for close-ups and all that. But this model will actually do quite well when it comes to some far shots, even some close-up shots. It does pretty good. But we're going to use this for now, and we're going to get something pretty cool. So let's add the mesh, in which we've already done. So now let's go to display, and what we're going to do is we're going to come up to where it says large dots. I'm going to put this to geometry, and you're going to see now we have grass blades added to our terrain. Okay, this is perfect. So perfect as in that this is working, but we still have to do some customization. So we're going to go in and we're going to now add some rotation to this guy. So we're going to grab the rotation and let's bring it up, and right now everything's kind of looking like this. So that's because we're on random 3D, and what we need to do is change the orientation to random horizontal, and that's going to just flip them all around randomly. Now, like I said, I recommend you to even get different variations of grass blades doing different things, maybe different colors, and you're going to get a little bit more of a some variation in each of the blades. It gives you a little bit more realism. But this will actually do a great job if you're trying to do something fast when it comes to grass. So, that said, we can now do, we can now have a look actually and see what we're dealing with. Okay, so right now, so bring this guy over here. Okay, in the render view, we don't have anything going on. And the reason for this is because we need to add a mesh node. So let's bring the mesh node up into our event here. And so if we were now to render, you're going to now see we got the grass blades. All right? So that's looking good. Okay, so now what we got to do is let's start to get some lighting going on in here, and then we can apply our materials to get the realistic results we're looking for. So at first what I want to do is, or what I like to do, is come over to materials. Let's go to surface material. Okay, grab that. Let's just drag it into the ground. So we have a nice gray ground here. We're going to say 0 to the specular. Okay, and then what we're going to do is go to our render setup, or sorry, our environment, and we're going to plug in an Arnold environment or sky, physical sky map in here. Just going to go down here. Environment, physical sky. Alright, so we already got that pretty much in place. We're going to go to our material editor. We're going to drag the physical sky here. And now we can play with the properties, okay? Okay, so now that we have our grass in, we can start to bring in the lighting a little bit more here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a good setting going here. I'm going to say we're here. Okay, we're just going to try to find the sun, which I believe it's going to be way up there. Yep, there it is. So let's bring it down, and let's bring the elevation down to about 13. So we're going to get that sun kind of coming over here. And then what we can do is bring our intensity to about 8. Sun size will keep the same. And then we're going to just bring down a little bit. I'm going to get just that fog to come down just a bit. Something like this, okay? Let's just try one. Okay, so now what you're seeing here is we're going to get these nice long shadows, and that's going to really help sell the lighting once, or the materials on the grass blades and all that. It's going to just look really good if we're getting that kind of magic hour vibe going. Alright, so let's now increase. Let's go to our Tyflow. Let's create a camera, just so we can go back to our camera for reference. And let's use the Tyflow properties here and go in and let's add, let's just say 5,000 blades, or sorry, 50,000 blades. And that's going to give us some more detail here to work with. Okay, so it's still a little bit sparse, but it's going to give us a little bit more of a good idea for our materials and all that. So let's now get our ground in. So I'm going to create, actually we'll just use our base gray here, and we're just going to go and call this ground. Okay. I'm just going to take a ground texture. Alright, and something that looks like this. And what we're going to do is plug it into our base color. And then we're going to go to our ground here and go UVW map. Let's plug that in. Okay, so now we get our map looking like this. Just going to pause this for 1 second here so I can just focus on the map itself here. And we can dial in our texture here. We can say 20 by 20. Let's just see what that looks like. Maybe even 10 by 10. And I'm not going to really worry about too much tiling at this point, because once we add displacement, it's really going to get broken up. So this is just going to give us some color variation. So as I hit play, getting into a good spot here. You're starting to see that ground is looking pretty good. Okay. Now what we need to do is let's get our grass blades in. So I'm just going to take this guy and copy it. Okay, and we're going to call this grass. I'm just going to take this map here. It has some gradiency to it. We're going to plug this into our base color. I'm going to say 0.5 for the specular just to get a little bit, because grass does have a little bit of highlights. We can play with that a little bit later, but for now we have something to start with. And now we're going to bring up our Tyflow settings here. So what I want to do here is let's go into and find instance material. Where are you? There it is. Let's drag that up. Okay. And then what we're going to do is drag our grass into the scene material here, and that's going to replace our particles here. So we're getting something kind of like this here, okay? So that's not looking too bad. So far, it's actually, once you get that grass material in, everything just really starts to come together quite nice. Let's go to perspective mode here real quick. I'm just going to go around our scene. Okay, so now let's increase our particles even more. Okay, let's try something like 200,000. All right, so there we go. So now that we have a lot more grass added in, this is looking quite nice. Okay, so what we're missing now is we're going to want a little bit of subsurface going through. So as the sun is coming through these little blades, we want a little bit of light casting through them. So let's get kind of close up here and let's start to dial in some of these textures here, or sorry, material. Okay, so what we're going to do is hit the material editor. Alright, so there we go. With having 200,000 grass blades, we're getting a little bit more of a nice dense grass field going on here, and this is looking a lot better. And as we just refine and refine, you can see the details quite nice already. But what we have to do now is start to add in our subsurface material for this. So let's go in and, or at least dial in the settings for that. So I'm going to come over to our grass blades here, and we are going to look at putting our settings. We don't need too much. I'm going to say this is, okay, let's put this about 0.5. And we just want to make this more like a deeper, like vibrant green like this, maybe towards more of the yellow. So we go somewhere. Let's put our scale down to 0.1. We're going to change our random walk to version 2. So this way, what's going to happen is we're going to get some really little nice little light hits here coming through the blades. And that's just going to add to some realism. So if we go towards that direction of the sun, which I got to find the sun's over. Where are you here? Oh, starting to. The sun is. Okay, so as we go towards the direction of the sun, we can now see that the light is going to come through. So what we want to do now is maybe we can enhance our sun a bit here. So let's go into our properties. Okay, so we're going to go to our physical sky, and let's say we want to go to 12. Let's dial that up a bit more. It's a nice sunny day. Something like this. Okay, and then what we want to do is we just want to focus on the ground. Right now it's a little bit flat, so we can add a displacement modifier or an Arnold property and add a displacement inside here to bring up this ground a bit. So I'm just going to come through. I'm going to just stop that for 1 minute. Things get a little bit slower. So we're going to enable our displacement. We're going to use displacement map. And I'm just actually for this one, I'm just going to use, even though it's not black and white, we could make it black and white if we want. But what I'm going to do is just use this map. And I'm going to bring it in. Actually, I said an instance, but actually I want it to be a copy. Just in case we need to change the color of this guy here. So let's make sure, let's just go down to 0.1 height, because we know that's going to be too much. And then I think from there we should be pretty good. So let's give it a render and see what we have here. So get closer to the ground a bit here. There we go. We're starting to see a little bit of breakup going on. And yeah, we could dial back a little bit of the contrast here just to kind of lighten it up a bit. So let's do that. Let's go over to our map here. Let's create a color correction node. Over here. There we go. Okay, and I'm just gonna find the color correction node. Let's just use Arnold's color correction. And if I go, let's see, 1.4, brighten that up a bit. So we get something like this. So that really helped quite a bit. You could change the hue a bit if you wanted to, just to kind of get it more in the green tones. Bring down the saturation. What I'm trying to do is just get it very close, a little bit more closer to the grass blades. Okay, we're not going to mess with that. We also have, I can also play with this a little bit too. There we go. Okay, that's the multiplier. I just took the color, add a little bit of color to that. We're going to reset this guy back to 1. Bring up our exposure a bit. Hopefully you get the idea and that starts to look a little bit more tied in. Alright, so less brown. Alright, so this is a very simple grass setup. Does pretty well for close-ups. Obviously, you know, we could add more and get variation in here, but I just wanted to show you pretty much now, if you wanted to, you could add another model to this and break this all up. But for a simple, realistic grass, it seems to do the job pretty good. And there's a lot that you can do with this. Might want to just dial back a little bit of that, or just add some roughness to the grass blades themselves. Let's just region the spot here so we get some quick results. Let's go over here and let's just dial back our roughness. Let's go 0.5. Bring this back to 1. Let's go back to 5. And maybe let's give this a little bit of color. There we go. So now all we have to do is let's get a nice looking camera angle here. Okay. And let's just want to see if I play with the lighting a little bit here, what kind of results we're going to get. So if I go to the physical sky and spin this guy around a bit. Let's bring down the sun. try to get the sun in a direction that I want. So right now it's behind us. This is more sunset. Let's bring up our sun a bit more. Here it comes around. So we're getting some pretty cool results, even with the sun a little bit lower. It's going through the blades. The lighting's going through there. We got the nice shadows. It's looking really good. Bring the sun a bit up more. Very nice. And then if we want, we can come into our camera settings here. And we can now add in some depth of field. Let's make this a 50. Just add some depth of field. And now all I want to do is bring our target distance back. Alright, so as we get a render here, you're going to see some nice results here with some depth of field. Alright, here is the result, and this is looking pretty good as it comes to just using one strand of grass. We get something like this. It's pretty good. And the subsurface is looking really nice. We can really dial this in a bit more too when it comes to color grading and really get some really nice contrast throughout. But this is, as a start, this is pretty good. It's very simple, but it can be very effective in certain shots, and mainly even for further away shots. But if you had something where you want more detail, you're going to have to go in and do some more complex model on the blades themselves. I'll pretty much do a tutorial on something like that where I can show different types of highly detailed grasses where it's up close, where even if you were to put like a bug or something on one of the blades or something, you get this realistic results. But for simple grass, and an update to my video tutorials, as I've done one way in the past with iRay, I'm now using Arnold. And Arnold's obviously come through, it always does, and this is the result I got with a simple grass, realistic grass tutorial. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and you can go and create your own little simple grass models like this, or scenes, and yeah, go try it out. Alright guys, thanks very much, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.